Hey everybody, Kenny here. So today I'm going to be going over the Wither build that I used for the entirety of my Lords of the Fallen playthrough. To start off, like the most important thing that you'll be needing in order to actually use the main weapon that I used on my playthrough. Once you're here in the Molu room, there's going to be a certain item you're going to have to bring to Molu. I'm just going to show the full path on how to get to that item. So just from this vestige here, just make your way over down this path, over to this ladder, all the way to the bottom. Make sure you're in Umbral. Head down to this lower area, and then this right here is where you get the item that you need to place at this spot. Of course, obviously, you'll need to be in Umbral to hand it over to Molu. But once you have, then you will be able to offer remembrances. Prior to getting that item and bringing it to Molu, this option will not appear in his menu. No matter how many bosses you defeat and gain the remembrances of, you will not gain this option until you get that item. Now, once you have the item, the spear that I used, the Saint Latimer Relic Spear, is obtained by going to the Congregator of Flesh remembrance, and then it is one of the only options that is available. The Saint Latimer's Relic Spear has a strength and radiance requirement, and the runes that I equipped onto it were to increase the strength scaling so that the physical damage would be more prevalent. That increased the radiant scaling and to increase the wither damage, and the last slot I used just to increase damage to enemy poise, which didn't really come in handy throughout playthrough. But, you know, it was the only rune I had that worked in that slot for what I was using the others for. So this isn't like a super like min-maxed rune build for this weapon, but it's what I had. What makes this weapon so good is that since it is split between physical and wither, you're able to take advantage of the main properties of Wither, which are that when you deal damage to an enemy, you gain... well, not you gain. They gain some Withered health, which is that white area that you're seeing in our health bar right now. And as a weapon that is dealing both Wither damage and physical damage, you are able to hit an enemy and cause both the buildup of the Wither health and also dealing just regular damage on its own. And then anytime you hit an enemy after that, you'll be consuming all of their Withered health to do the properties of Withered damage, while also applying even more Withered health. And because this is a spear, the multi-attack on it, so when you hold the block button, when you press the block button and the heavy attack at the same time, in one hand, it is a very fast attack that hits at a very good range. And so you're able to use this as your primary attack for everything. Like, you know, it makes this a perfect weapon for a build that uses Wither as part of the way you deal your damage. Now, I do not recommend using this as a two-handed weapon. As a two-handed weapon, if you were to use the multi-hit attack, you can see it's much slower. Incredibly slow compared to the one-handed version. So even though, like, you know, you would be able to like break enemy guard more often if you were to two-hand it, I guess just like you leave yourself way too open if you are doing that super slow build up for the multi-attack. So it's much better to just use the one-handed version, which gives you access to your block, and it also gives you access to just the far superior multi-hit attack. For the shield that I just used the Pale Eye Shield, which is a very early game a shield that you get from one of the Umbral loot things. I don't even know what they're called, but it's an Umbral treasure that you get very early on. I think it's like on the path to the second boss in the game. Like you're the first boss after Pieta, you know. Like I think it's on the way to that boss is where you get this shield. Then the Charm of Fortune Sight, you buy this from Molu, along with pretty much all of the main sorceries that I used. Just to go over real quick, for the shield, the runes that I equipped on it were the rune to increase Radiant Attribute, the rune to increase Elemental Defense, and the rune to give myself passive mana regen. Like that mana regen came in very handy. And then for the Umbral Weapon buff and the Poison Weapon buff, both of those are purchased from Molu. They become available around the time you defeat the Congregator of Flesh. And then the Radiant Weapon buff, you're able to get from the Exactor. Like, I think it's available pretty much right when he starts offering you spells, but it might like take a little bit for it to show up. I honestly don't remember exactly how early, but I know that it was available pretty early. Like, I had all three of these very early on. And then for the Latimer's Javelin, this comes from another remembrance, this time from the Hush Saint, which is the first beacon boss that you run into. Now, it's not necessary to get this sorcery, but it is both thematically appropriate because we're using the St. Latimer's Relic Spear as our main weapon, which kind of turns us into like almost like a special move for the weapon we're using. And also, it goes crazy far. Like, this thing flies. Like just crosses the map when you use this. So like it's actually really good for like picking off like really far away enemies. Mind you, like, you know, the manual targeting in this game leaves a lot to be desired since there is no targeting reticule. So you kind of have to play it by ear to figure out, like, all right, is that where it's targeting from? I think it is. And then make little micro adjustments to try to get to where you're trying to hit. But yeah, but it works very well. Like I used it to great effect throughout my playthrough, and I highly recommend using that sorcery. For my accessories, I used the Relic of Perpetuation, which is pretty much the very first like amulet you get in the game, which just increases your maximum health. Like, just because, you know, having some extra health is a good idea. But yeah, but that's up to you. Like, for me, like, you know, like I needed the extra survival because I'm bad at video games. But if you're not as bad as I am, then like you can do something more interesting than what I did. For the Grievous Ring and the Radiant Ring of Preeminence, I'm pretty sure both of these I found, so like in Lower Calrath, like closer to like where you fight the Fern's Progeny boss. So like the path to that boss, like, you know, like is where I got both of those. 'Cause I know that I had all of these by the time that I went down into the mines. Basically, my entire build was complete by the time I went down to the mines, in terms of like the gear that I use and the spells. So, you know, so this is a build that comes online very early on, very early. In terms of stats, we can see my spread here. My focus early on was on getting Radiance and Inferno up as quick as possible. I didn't know what the stats on the spear were going to be, and I thought that because it did wither damage, that it was going to be a weapon that scaled on Radiance and Inferno, which I was incorrect on. So, so I spent the first like 20 levels of this character just Oh, and I started this character as a condemned. You know, so it was a lot easier to level up early on. So, you know, I wasted like my first like 20 levels just getting Radiance and Inferno up. But yeah, but as I showed, the Spear itself actually only requires 13 Radiance and 13 Strength. And then for the spells, you know, 15 Radiance and Inferno for Umbra Weapon, 8 Radiance and Inferno for Poison Weapon, 18 Radiance for Radiant Weapon, and then 18 Radiance and 18 Inferno for Latimer's Javelin. So, you know, so basically, like, I had unintentionally, like, by doing that, I was able to satisfy the requirements to use all of the spells I ended up using. And then obviously, you know, strength for satisfying the strength scaling for the weapon, radiance for the wither scale, for the radiant scaling for the wither damage on the weapon, and of course vitality for the health, and then endurance I got up to 20 so that I could wear all of my equipment and stay in the medium range for encumbrance. For the armor set itself, like, this is a motley, so I have everything is from a different set. Like the Skin Stealer, this is in, you know, a Rogar enemy that you fight as a boss when you're fairly deep into the mines. You'll run into this as a boss before the lift that takes you to Upper Kalrath, and then you fight them as like kind of regular enemies from that point on. And any of them can drop this as just an item drop. Like, you don't need to use these. Like, I use them because I really like the pattern on the armor. Like, just a really nice pattern that goes with the other stuff that I used. That was the whole reason for picking that. But, you know, you can pick pants that suit your taste better. For the Purger gauntlets and the Vanguard helm, these you get from the Exactor. Like, there's going to be items that you find throughout your adventure that he's going to have been asking you for. So he's going to say, oh, I don't remember what they're called. Like the Dark Brotherhood, the Dark Crusaders, I think they're called. I don't know. Or like, I think like he's like part of the Dark Crusaders, and then there's like a different order. And whatever they are, let's see. Does it say here? I see Dark Crusaders on there. But I think it's something else. I think like there's a different order. He's asking you to find stuff of like people from that order. And so like, you know, like you'll find like rosaries and things like that. Then you bring it to him, and the next time you reload the game and talk to him, like, he'll be offering like stuff from whoever it was that you brought him this stuff from. So you'll get something that's like, I don't know, like the rosary of somebody, the Purger, or something like that. You know, it'll be things like that. And then each thing will offer, he'll offer up armor pieces and weapons based on whoever that was. And so, like, you know, these gauntlets, they just, once again, like, it's all about the look. You know, they just went super nice with this armor and this helmet. So, you know, so the legs, the arms, the helmet, you know, just, you know, they fit really nice together. That's why I picked it. The armor, however, this is yet another remembrance. This you get from the Harrower Dervla remembrance. So, you know, I got like I thought that the armor set of that character looked really cool, so I got the full set. But the only piece I ended up liking was the chest piece. But then ended up being like the core to like the whole design that I had here. That ended up looking awesome. For the Tinks, the whole thing, I'm using the Oathbreaker because I wanted it to be like a light colored armor to go with the whole Wither theme. But you could make it darker to go with like a Berserk theme. So, you know, Harbinger, you know, like full on Berserk armor, like a Cell Sword, and like you kind of like go more umbral because of the blue thing instead of the green. Yeah, armor wise, like, you know, they look the same armor wise, but I guess yeah, this does actually kind of go better, so I'll keep it on this now. Yeah, but that is the full build. You know, nothing crazy. Like the whole thing was just, I wanted to use this spear because I saw it in either Roricon or Co-Carnage's Lords of the Fallen playthrough. Like, I saw them get this weapon, and as soon as I saw this weapon, and I saw the poison weapon sorcery, I was like, okay, I gotta see how these things like work together, and they actually work super well together. The problem is that once again, this is not a min-max combo. So because of the fact that rune slots on the relic sphere are those particular shapes, like, you can't put on the Atarux rune, which would let you increase the rate of poison buildup. Like, if you could put that on this, then that would be like the perfect min-max setup for this particular idea. Like, you could possibly do a similar build using the Veil Piercer, which is a spear that you find after you beat that Skin Stealer boss that I mentioned earlier. Like, right behind the lift that goes to Upper Calrath, you'll find the Veil Piercer just right behind it in Umbral. Like, I haven't upgraded this thing, so I don't know what the runes are when you upgrade it. But if it has a, you know, the triangle rune slot, then this would probably be a better option for this particular build, just because you'd be able to do poison bleed, poison build up better, and then, you know, like, yeah, and then, like, you know, there would be more value in like switching over to using like the Bloodbane ring. But since like with this weapon, getting the poison build, getting poison onto bosses took a really long time to do. So like a lot of times, you know, like I just opted for like either just using Umbral weapon or using Radiant weapon if it was like a Rogar boss. You know, just to get the extra damage on top instead of trying to get the build up. But yeah, but it's up to you. Like, if that's something you want to go for, like this, I can say for certain, like, this is a massively powerful weapon. It's just incredibly strong, and I did not regret my decision to use that for the entirety of my playthrough. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Thanks everybody for stopping by and checking me out. If you found these tips useful, appreciate doing YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, maybe share with a friend. Until next time, Vay Victus, Fires of Damaris, and bye.